Thank you very much for coming along. If more people come, I'll raise my voice a little bit more. Possibly, we've had some very well-attended tastings here for Riesling and Pinot Noir, for the indigenous grapes of Württemberg yesterday, and then we did white grape varieties from the Pinot family, white wines from the Pinot family yesterday. It's interesting that this is a rosé tasting, and rosé represents a very big part of what gets sold in the UK. It's kind of an important category, and yet people tend not to come to a masterclass on it. It may be that they think it's not perhaps complex enough, but there's a lot of information to give you on the wines that we will be tasting now. So we're going to look first of all at a wine which will come into the dry category. All the wines that we're looking at are from South Germany. They're from Baden-Württemberg. If I just show you on this map. Here's Germany. We are down in the south, warmer part of Germany, and they make a quite stylistically different style of wine here. Mainly dry. Did you want to join in this tasting?
Yes.
Thank you. There's some tasting sheet there. Mainly dry, but having said that, rosé today, we're going to look at a scale like a ladder where we look at different sweetness levels as well. So we're going to start with a Pinot Noir rosé, 100% Pinot Noir, from a cooperative cellar in Oberrotweil, which is in the very deep south of Baden, so right down as warm as it gets anywhere in Germany. Bear in mind that Germany has planted plantations of Pinot Noir 3 times larger than New Zealand. There is 3 times more Pinot Noir in Germany than there is in Australia. This is a very, very important world producer of Pinot Noir. No oak here. This is young, ripe fruit style, 2011. From Oberrotweil, and just to say how different this area is, in 2003 and 2008, this is German wine we're talking about, South German wine, they had to acidify. They actually, because everyone would say German wine, very high acidity, this warm part of South Germany is so warm that in certain vintages they have to acidify the wines. Forbidden down here to de-acidify. It's not, not necessary at all. So let's have a look at this first wine. Pinot Noir makes lovely rosés. You will probably tend to think of them in terms of France normally. Sancerre, Rosé Sancerre would be made from Pinot Noir. If you're in Burgundy, the village of Marcenay is renowned for its Pinot Noir rosés. This is a wine which would be in the UK market round about the £10 mark, £9.99 retail. That's approximate pricing. $9.99, $10.75, something like that. So we're looking to see, when you make rosé, some people say the wine will always be uninteresting because you're not leaving a lot of skin contact. You're usually leaving a cool soak of the grapes in the press more often than not to pick up the amount of colour that you want. And we sometimes think as well, I think sometimes that you have rosés which are more white wine style, some rosés which are more red wine style. Obviously in terms of colour, we're looking at quite a light, pale rosé here. Let's have a look at it. Summer drinking, I think, Summer drinking, maybe even a bit of ice around, chill the glass before you get into it, outdoor drinking, barbecues, Lovely, refreshing style, and probably more like a white wine than a red wine. I think in terms of stylistic, what they're out to achieve, this is a refreshing, relatively good acidity on this, and some of the little flavours, those slightly sort of red currant flavours. We often say raspberry for Pinot Noir, but there's certainly a fruit characteristic there, in a quite restrained way, as they will normally be with rosés. Okay, we're going to serve you the second rosé of the tasting, and we're moving into a category that I would class this as off-dry. We're moving to 16.3 grams of residual sugar. As you would almost expect, you have a fall down on alcohol as a result of that. I think the first wine was 12.5. This wine has more residual sugar. It's only 11.5 alcohol. The grape mix is straight 1/3 of each of those three grape varieties. It's made from the cooperative, a joint cooperative of 3 different villages in the Weinsberger town. We have their wines up on the far end of the stand, which is in Württemberg. So this is Württemberg and not Baden, and it's using the grape varieties which this region has to hand, which is Lemberger, Blaufränkisch, Pinot Meunier, what they would call the black Riesling, the Pinot Meunier grape, the same grape that makes champagne, and Pinot Noir, 1/3 equal varieties. And the winemaker here, the assistant winemaker, Claudia Ries, trained and worked in Martinborough in the South Island of New Zealand, in the Wairarapa area, with Claremore Holland in Martinborough Vineyards. So a lot of interchange between South Germany and New Zealand. Now, what I would say, I think last year I did a food and drink festival in Northern England, and we were selling wines by the glass, and the UK public consistently came back. This massively outsold any other wines we had on the stand. And it's very easy to forget that a lot of wine drinkers out there, a lot of your customers, do not necessarily want bone dry wines, and they like something like this, which I think is not as sweet as something like a White Zinfandel. You are definitely here in an off-dry category, but with some quite nice aromas, I think. Move on to the third wine. Are you interested in? Do join in if you know you're busy. Okay. And I want to explain this one because it's very easy to misunderstand it. You're going to taste a rosé from a single grape variety. This is a varietal wine, and the varietal that you're going to taste is called Muskat Trollinger. This is not a blend of Trollinger with Muscat. This is a grape variety which was a mutation of the red grape Trollinger in the 1830s. So it's been a separate individual grape variety since the 1830s, and its name is Muscat Trollinger. It's a mutation of Trollinger that's gone in a muscat style direction. That happens with other grape varieties. You will find, you can get Chardonnay that's a clone of Chardonnay, which has got a muscaty style, more aromatic character. This wine is again from Württemberg, and it's made from an estate called Stortz in Klebron, and they have 1 hectare of Muscat Trollinger planted. they have a certain success for it. It's a local curiosity. We actually really kind of quite like this wine. So they've replanted another half a hectare. They're actually increasing their production. And so look for the aromatics on this. You can see why they've said that Trollinger here in this format has got a muscatty kind of character. But it's a red grape. And it's a separate single grape variety. It's very important that you don't think it's a blend of two grapes here. The residual sugar is 19 grams here. 19 grams residual. I think I would probably just still place this in off-dry. In my own categorization of a wine, this is an off-dry rosé. The sort of wine you could sit and concentrate on the aromas for, what do you reckon, 10 minutes, 15 minutes? You know, you almost don't want to taste it because there's so much going on aromatically here. You get this is a different aroma than Muscat. This is not Muscat. They're trying to say that it's an aromatic version of Trollinger. It's a mutation of Trollinger, and it's got this really quite original aromas around. Something sort of quite zesty about it. It's quite citrusy. It's almost, I don't know, the gentleman here would know what I mean, sort of shaving foam. Shaving foam, you know, that sort of zesty that you get in shaving foam. I really love the nose on this. And then the acidity is 5.3 on this particular vintage. I think vintages change, and stylistically you'll have a slightly different wine according to every year. Yeah. This is the 2012. Yeah. This afternoon I'm doing a masterclass here about some of these wines with Indian food. I think that would be marvellous with Thai and Chinese style cuisine. This is perfectly made for that kind of thing. I think this would work really, really well with that. Yeah. This retail-wise, yeah. I'll tell you. This is $11.99. Retail $11.99. If you're interested in this grape, I have got another Muscat Trollinger Rosé to hand. Is it of sufficient interest to taste another version of it? Would you like to? Yeah. Okay. And this version I think has got a little bit higher residual sugar, not massively so, but a little bit more residual sugar. On its way, I think. Yes, that's the wine. Sorry? Similar kind of price. Yeah, similar price, I would say. I have to say, from the UK side, it would be nice if this had its own name rather than being called Muscat Trollinger, that it actually had a grape name of its own. That would be my view, but it's a bit late to do that now. It's called Muscat Trollinger over there. You're just catching the tail end of a rosé in South Germany. We're about to taste an Eiswein from a rosé Eiswein. Are you interested in joining with us? Thank you. Sorry, I didn't reach far enough. Thank you. So, slightly different, but you're getting some of those same characteristics on the nose. Perhaps not quite so complex. I think there's not so much complexity as with the Stortz version. And a little bit more sweetness, yeah? a little bit more sweetness here, which gives an impression of a slightly rounder mouthfeel as well. And typically of these aromatic Muscat style grape varieties, you sometimes finish with a touch of bitterness. It's why it's probably a good idea not to make them bone dry, because if that bitterness was with a very dry wine, it would be a bit too much. Because you've got some fruit and sweetness, the bitterness is all in that mix. It's hidden away. We're going to finish with an Eiswein. Not very often that you get a chance to have a look at a genuine Eiswein. This is from a red grape. It's a Rosé Eiswein from a red grape called Lemberger. The grape variety is the same grape variety as the Blaufränkisch in Austria, or Keck Frankos in Hungary. It's one of the grape varieties that was part of the, Charlemagne and the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So it's also in northern Italy, where it's called Franconia. And I probably don't need to tell you, but I will just say what's happening with Eiswein production. The producer will take the risk of not making a wine in a particular vintage. So he will leave a vineyard site where he doesn't pick the grapes. He keeps a close eye on them, that birds don't get in there, the vines are netted, and he will wait for somebody up above, or whatever he believes in, to give him a morning where the temperature is below -9 degrees centigrade. If it's too cold, it won't work either. It mustn't be too cold. It must, it needs to be no warmer than -9. But I don't know, no hotter than 11 or something, -11, something like that. Very quickly pick the grapes, take them into the winery, press the juice, filter the ice so that none of the ice goes through, and you have this real intense concentration of the grape must. This wine has 175 grams of residual sugar. But as I say, we're not talking Sous Reserve here. The only reason that it is this concentration is that the water content has been removed from frozen grapes. I was marvellous chance, first time I'd ever done it in my life. In December last year, I happened to be there on the right night, and the winemaker said, "Would you like to come and do the harvest with us tomorrow morning?" And I foolishly said yes. Actually, I don't regret it at all. And at 5 o'clock in the morning, at the hotel, they came to collect me. I had my pajamas on, I had 3 pullovers, a coat. Even with all this hair, I'd got a muffler around me and a scarf. And we spent an hour and a half picking marbles. They were kind of hard, solid, frozen grapes. And they were whisked off to the winery to be made. And the wine will be released in August this year from the previous vintage. People sometimes say, how does Eiswein age? Is there a glass for me here?
Thank you very much, was a pleasure.
Thank you very much. That's the end of the tasting, so you've stayed.
Yeah. Stand when you have time.
Oh, right. It is the end of the tasting. I just haven't tasted the wine, that's all.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And I wouldn't like to miss this one. I don't think it's a bit special. And a little bit unusual to get one made from a red grape as well, and the local red grape Lemberger. Let me have a look. No botrytis flavours. That's the big difference. You're not getting any botrytis flavours. And bear in mind that botrytis tends to take away the varietal character of the grape, probably more than Eiswein Botrytis would hide. You could get a Traminer botrytis affected, and you won't really be able to spot the fact that it's been made from Gewürztraminer. Whereas if you get an Eiswein, you will actually get some of the characteristics of the grape. Obviously, this is a red grape made in a kind of just about rosé kind of style. There won't be any botrytis now. No.
Scandinavian markets, so if you are interested in participating.
Thank you very much for coming along to the tasting. If you happen to be around, we're talking about how some of these wines would work with Indian food at 3 o'clock this afternoon. That would be the last of our tutored tastings. Yeah, price-wise, you would be buying it trade at, well, I shouldn't be saying this really, should I? It would probably sell about £25.99 retail. So that's the retail price in the UK, £25.99. That's including the VAT. Yeah. Thanks a lot for your interest. Okay. I'm on the stand if you want to ask about anything else. I can answer questions. Thank you.